Hi, this is Attorney Shaprali for a video on traveling on OPT, the risk of traveling on the OPT or the F1 visa, which is becoming a major problem right now. For one, whenever you're traveling on the F1 visa, make sure that you don't travel for more than 5 months and so that you come back before the 5 months. That's the first rule. The second rule, if you are on F1, of course, you have a visa, you can travel back and forth. But what happens when you move under OPT? If you look at the OPT card, it says you're allowed to travel. However, you're allowed to travel as long as the F1 visa is still good, because the visa is what allows you to enter. So if you don't have an F1 stamp on your passport, you should not travel, because going to get a new F1 stamp on your passport when you are under OPT is very difficult, and I've seen it very rarely happening. So be careful on that. The second rule also, if you re-enter on, if your OPT is pending and you try to travel, we don't recommend that, because if there's any kind of fee or issues that they want to know about your case and you don't answer, or you're not able to explain what happens next, you might get a denial and you might not be able to enter. So another rule, don't travel while your OPT is pending. So now the third rule, and if you're traveling, you have an approved OPT, make sure that you have the F1, but make sure also you're carrying your I-20 with you, your OPT I-20, but also make sure you're carrying what we call an employment letter. Without an employment letter, there's unless you are within the time of the unemployment, which is under the regular OPT, you have those rules of 60 days, 90 days, and now with this new STEM OPT, 150 days, etc., etc. Make sure you are within that time if you're coming back, and explain that. So we recommend that you don't travel if you don't have an employment letter. So now, having said that, if you are outside the United States and you're planning to come back in the US, and you are planning to file for file for an OPT, you're planning to file for an H1, for example. That's another rule. Let's say you're moving from an H1 to from an OPT to an H1, okay? So if let's say your OPT expires on April 1st, you file on a new H1, and your case get picked up, and your OPT expires in May, and you're traveling after that, if you come back, you won't be able to get the cap gap. As you know, the cap gap allows you to continue working from the date, as long as the OPT expires after April 1st, you can continue working until October 1st when your H1B kicks in. But if you travel in between the cap gap, you won't get cap gap. So be careful on that. Now, if you're on OPT and OPT is still valid until, let's say, November, and then in October 1st, you're in H1B, you're coming back on the OPT, there might be a problem in the system to register a change of status on October 1st. So hopefully it's not a big problem. Most of the time they do accept the change of status on October 1st. So if you did that, in between your case of H1B kicking in, you travel and you come back on the OPT, make sure that you travel a little bit later under the H1B to get a stamp, just to be on the safe side if you lost status in between. So that's just a precaution. It's not a mandatory thing, but I recommend doing that. Now, if you have also a third category of those people who have an OPT and they are traveling under the OPT, and they're reaching close to the H1B, and the H1B has already been approved, I recommend getting your H1B stamp and coming directly under the H1B instead of coming back on the F1 OPT. So those are a few tips, ladies and gentlemen, about especially students listening to me. And I hope you are able to understand the concept of OPT. OPT itself is not a traveling document. It has to be attached to the F1 for one. And two, if you're traveling, make sure you have an employment letter. And if you don't have one, you are within the time of an employment under the OPT. And three, if you're traveling, bring with you your I-20 also with you. And if you are beneficiary of the cap gap, because of the fact that your OPT will join with the H1B, don't travel, you will lose the cap gap. My best recommendation is not to travel during the time you're shifting to H1B. That's the best recommendation I can give you. As for OPT travel, you can talk to a good lawyer before you move forward. You can call our office 510-742-5887. And anything I told you today is for educational purposes only. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. There's no attorney-client relationship created by this video. And thank you very much for listening, and please subscribe to our channel. And also we have now a Facebook page called F1 OPT. Please like it, and we will update things on that for you. So hopefully that will be helpful, and thank you for Daisy OPT for helping us spread the message.